Hello and good afternoon from Better Than Before. This is Dave Edelstein live online with you, talking about all things to do with communicating, relating, being mindful, and connecting with other human beings in whatever way, shape, and form you find best, and helping to make that better if I can. I thought that I would spend a little time today reflecting on Mother's Day. Yes, there are elements of Mother's Day that, like Valentine's Day, which I spoke about a couple of months ago, are real hallmark holidays, sort of reeking of the artificial. To some extent, every day should be Mother's Day and Father's Day and Children's Day, because to that extent, we really owe our parents big. Um, so much of what we are is what they made us. This isn't always perfect. No one is a perfect parent. Good, loving, caring parents can make very serious mistakes with their children, and really awful parents can do lasting damage that may never be entirely untangled. But the idea of being someone's parent, and given that yesterday was Mother's Day, being someone's mother, or being the child of a mother, these are important fundamental relationships. These are foundational relationships that last us all of our lives. And so I thought I would say a couple of words in praise of my own mother, in praise of my wife, and perhaps in praise of motherhood in general. We'll see how this unfolds over the next 5 or 10 minutes. Let me start by talking for a moment about my mother. My mother is fortunately still with me. My mother is 85 years old. She's bright and alert, lives on her own with her crazy little dog, manages entirely by herself, gets around by herself, drives herself around, has a circle of friends that she likes to play bridge with, does the New York Times crossword in record time every morning, and has an appetite for reading undiminished by the years. She's far more well-read than I, keeps up with all the latest and most cutting-edge literature, especially fiction. And what she was able to give to me, despite my resistance in so many ways to accepting and or benefiting from it, was that appreciation of the life of the mind, that so much of who we are and what we do, how we perceive reality, what goes on in our lives really happens inside our own heads. And what our heads are capable of understanding, grasping, accepting determines so much of what our life experience will be. To this purpose, she encouraged me to read a lot, to learn a lot, to study a lot. My mother's quite intellectual, raised me to be that kind of person. I'm not entirely. There were things in that. I got to a certain point in life where I felt that intellectualism was not enough somehow. It was not satisfying enough. It was not human enough. I wanted to dig my fingers into the earth. I wanted to connect more directly with a wider range of the human experience, face to face rather than through the written page, and went down a different track. But I appreciate her efforts to expand my horizons, allow me to see life in a broader context, allow me to see implications or possibilities, artistic expressions that otherwise I would have no access to. And of course, beyond that, there is the human element that I know that my mother's dedication to my well-being was and remains absolute. She continues to be someone I can count on absolutely. That for her, being a mother was being somebody, yes, to some extent demanding, but also very, very accepting, very prepared to let me be myself, willing to change as I grew in terms of how she interacted with me, willing to accept me most of the time as an adult, and showing now at this stage in her life, being a model of excellent judgment, a fair accepting and appreciation of other human beings, accepting others at face value, appreciating them for who they are, not criticizing them for whom they are not, and just being accepting and patient with the world. And these are qualities to which I would certainly aspire. Let me say a couple of words here about my wife, Yadira, as a mother. Many people are very kind to me and say, "Oh, you've got great kids. You must be a great dad." I certainly was very devoted father when my children were small, and I continue to hold my children dear to my heart. They are extremely precious beings to me. No one could be more so. But fortunately, I always had a decent job. I was a teacher. My vacation schedule was the same as my kids. It was relatively easy for me to be a good parent to my children. They didn't need much from me. What they needed, I was happy to give them. They weren't that needy. My daughter was always very adult and mature and wise. My son, a bit goofy, but wonderfully talented, so that he continues to make his way on the basis of his musical talent. I didn't have to give them that. They were born that way. And again, I was always pretty sheltered. I had a good job as a teacher, made enough money to cover us happily, to make life comfortable, to live nicely. My wife, on the other hand, was a secretary at the University of Cuenca, managed to survive and raise 4 children, not just 2, but 4 children on a very limited income, sent them to private schools because public education in Ecuador was not up to her standard, encouraged them to further their studies. Some did, some didn't. Sent her husband to university to become a doctor, and not too long after that, wound up divorced, struggled on as father and mother to 4 children on a secretary's income in Ecuador. The level of effort that she had to put in, her soulful dedication and sacrifice to their well-being, that they should lack for nothing, that they should have every opportunity, working 2, 3, even 4 jobs to make this possible. This is a parenting effort far, far beyond my own. How can I fail to be overwhelmed? Or how could I fail to be overwhelmed this weekend as her children came by to appreciate appreciate what she had been to them as a mother. Her children are all adults now. Her eldest child is 40, her youngest child is 28. They're out, they're on their own, they live in a variety of ways. But all of them, all of their lives will know that she did everything humanly possible to give them the best childhood that she could. There are fathers who do this. There are mothers who do this. This is what it means to be a parent, to put your needs second, to put the needs of your children first, to sacrifice and struggle, to give everything that can be given. Again, I was lucky. I didn't have to do it that way. I had more time to goof around with my kids in the house. But as you look around you and see parents who are giving their all for their kids' well-being, this is what the human experience is. This is what it's for. Yes, sometimes parents are a nuisance, especially as we get to be teenagers, young adults. We find their concern and worry about us as we attempt to become independent, stressful, even annoying. The way that parents communicate with us can be frustrating. It may not seem very equal. We may not feel like we're on equal footing. You know what? We're not. We can't know what they went through. We can't imagine the anxiety that we caused them. I do hope that you reached out to your mom yesterday. I did, after my limited fashion. I do hope you reached out to your mom yesterday, but why yesterday? Why Mother's Day? Reach out to your mom. Reach out to your dad any day of the week. They're waiting to hear from you. They're trying to support you emotionally. Yeah, they may be limited. I was extremely fortunate in my parents. Extremely fortunate. Not everybody is so fortunate. Some parents just can't do it. They just can't put themselves second. They just can't dedicate themselves to their kids. They probably want to. They're just doing the best they can. Forgive them if you have to. But thank them for whatever you did. You'll feel better for it. You'll know where you came from. So I hope you had a good Mother's Day yesterday. I hope you'll have a good Father's Day next month. I'll probably say something about dads then. And have a good evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks especially, Dory, for tuning in.